Welcome to the Chris Spangle Show. Thanks for joining me this week. I am basically a full-time podcaster. I guess I am, not basically. I need to own it, right? I have a job where I'm head of podcasting at a local newspaper company, and I am on the side a podcast editor, in addition to doing this podcast, the Patdown and History of Modern Politics, which is coming back very soon. One of my clients is a podcast called Leading Adam with Adam Binkerd and Erika Crabtree. And it's an education and leadership podcast. It's really good. It was really helpful in helping me think through what I wanted in my career. And I was honored when they invited me to be their first guest on their new season. And I just love them to death. You'll hear why. This is a great podcast. It's definitely the most personal interview I've ever done. So we talk about faith and podcasting and just all kinds of different life things. And here comes my baby boy, Matthew. Matthew, can you come say hi?
No.
No.
And put this.
What's that? That's a microphone. You're so silly.
Nice. Nice.
No, this is not yours. This is Daddy's. All right, well, let's get back to the show. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this program.
Nice.
I wanted to learn the granular things that nobody else felt that they should have to learn. It gave me a set of skills that I've been able to monetize, and through clients like you guys, I'm able to pay our rent. It's given us a good living to the point that my wife can stay home. And that's because I learned on YouTube University how to do graphic design, how to build websites, how to do email marketing, those kind of things.
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Erika, we're back.
Season 3.
Season 3, it's been a while, 3 months without dropping an episode, and here we are, and the set looks different, and I couldn't be more excited about it.
Yeah, super excited. Who knew that we were going to make it to 3 seasons and I don't know, keep on trucking, you know?
I'm not sure
Feels
we
pretty
knew.
good.
I think we were wondering at the end of season 2. Although
Right.
we had such a great time doing it, and then we started to have some real traction with YouTube Shorts, and it was like, hey, we've got to get back to this. But we wanted to intentionally reset, right? And so we're doing that. So what's season 3 going to look like?
I think season 3 is going to be fun. We have our first guest today is going to be super fun. Hey,
The
Chris.
infamous.
The infamous, the one and only.
It's the infamous Chris Spangle.
Hello, how are you? I don't know that they know who I am.
They don't, probably, although we've mentioned Chris multiple times.
Yeah, even talked with him a little bit behind the...
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
yelled
sometimes you
things.
can hear him
Behind the camera.
laughing
Yes.
in the background.
We
Yeah.
like that.
So yeah, we've been saying all the way through season 2 when we decided to do guests, it was like, Chris, you're going to be on.
Okay.
We're going to have you on. We're going to have you on. And of course, now it's happening. You're opening season 3 with us.
Right.
For kind of 2 reasons.
Okay, I'm wondering why.
So reason 1, which our guests won't care about or understand, was to help us learn how to set up and start doing more of this production.
That's the real reason.
Well, thanks to you two, we're able to do this because this is the Circle City Studios down in Fountain Square, and it's a co-working space. So this is not a huge room. It's like a 12 by 12 room with a little cove here.
Mm-hmm.
And this was all junk behind you. And then you two said, why don't we open this up? And you built all this stuff. Both of you built all this stuff. And I can't thank you both enough for doing that because it's just opened up the whole studio.
Well, I think, one, Erika and I enjoyed it. I know you enjoyed the creative side of it. But part of it was investing in what you're doing.
Yeah.
You've been a fan and support for what we've been trying to do. And if we can help open that up, it does give a little bit more space.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A little less
good.
crowded in here.
So several of my podcasts, they have 5 people, so they're not all crammed on the couch.
Yeah.
Right.
We're kind of all over the place in here now. So yeah, it's really cool.
And I'm liking this beautiful wooden wall here. That's nice.
Just the whole
Good touches.
and the green wall behind you is something my wife built for soundproofing. It's 11 feet high by 6 feet wide. Never gets used as a backdrop until today. So I'm very excited.
I remember, Erika, when we visited the studio the first time when we were trying to decide, are we going to do this?
Yeah.
You come in and you described building this background. And I remember our conversation then is it was quite a shame that it was there, but there was no shot to use it because of the way the room had to be set up.
Yeah. My wife spent weeks gluing real moss to that wall, some foam mattresses. So now it can be seen behind Erika. So, and a nice little shot.
It is cool. That's a cool shot over there.
And I love how much DIY and hands and sweat have been put into this room.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
for those future guests coming, when they come in, it's not what you expect.
Yeah.
What you get to see in the shot is nowhere near the expanse of what's going on, the amount of cables wrapped around your feet, the stuff that has to get moved around. But it really, thank you for taking time to help us learn a little bit more of the setup. So to our guests, be patient with us. There's sometimes you're like, why in the world is that shot happening? It's because we didn't know.
We don't know.
We didn't know.
Why is there no video of the guests? Hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll hope it doesn't get that bad.
Goodness.
But there's another reason we wanted to have you, Chris, and I think I'll speak for myself first and I'll let Erika share her view. But from the moment we met, if you remember, was at an event.
Oh, yeah,
we met briefly at an event, and I thought we need to connect. I'll follow up.
Right.
And we did, and then we sat down at a co-working space and had a conversation. And from that moment, I realized, man, this guy is just incredibly intelligent.
Oh, thank you.
And he's had some really cool experiences. And part of what we want to lean into in season 3 is more of that, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I know it was more than just, hey, come help us learn, train us. You have so much cool perspective in your experiences. So looking forward to unpacking some of that with you.
You're an interesting character.
Yes.
Say it. Put it simply.
That sounds insulting, but thank you, Erika.
Oh, no.
You're an interesting character.
Oh, no insult intended. It's all love, Chris.
I know.
You know that.
Yeah, what would you add, Erika?
No, I just think, just the more we've gotten to know you, I remember meeting you for that first time at the Cohatch location with Adam, and just getting that little glimpse of, your depth of experience was really obvious, really quick. But just you got to talk about your family and some of your prior experiences. I thought, man, this is a good guy. I'm excited to work with him. And the more we've gotten to know you, just your intelligence, like Adam mentioned, and just your breadth of experiences and work that you do. And you clearly have a passion for this type of work.
Yeah.
And that is fascinating to me. And I'm excited to talk with you today because I just want to learn more. Who was Chris as a little kid? Where did all this come from, and how does this evolve? And
a deep need for attention.
Doesn't everything kind of
suddenly he's nervous. He's like, "Well, I didn't realize we were going back that far." But it's a good segue though, because you're right. Who is Chris? What makes Chris? And it's a good segue for us to talk just a minute before we get into really understanding that is what we want to do in season 3. Mm-hmm. And we've been talking through season 1 was mostly about understanding what is the human experience. What are we talking about? Leading Adam, the Hebrew word for Adam being Adam, which means both Adam and human. What does it look like? And now, then we get into season 2, and we talked with a lot of guests about what does it look like to lead outward, right? Lead humans. And now in season 3, we want to go to the real heart of the thing. What does it mean to lead inward? And there's something like all of our guests this in season 3 here will have navigated through challenges. They will have started their journey in pursuit of something, and maybe it took a trail they didn't expect. But we really want to celebrate that, right? You and I talked over this summer, how do we get there?
Yeah, there's that grit that each of those individuals that we know so far. But those individuals have that grit, and there's resilience to that. There's a story that, you see a person, it's so easy to look at a person and from afar and say, man, they look like they've got it all. they look like they're doing so well. Their family looks so.
Oh, you are a fool. It's a mess over here.
But we all, I mean, that's not the reality, right? There's so many more things going on underneath that, and there's just that humanity that gives you the strength every day to just power through it. You problem solve, you get through it, you make it to the next milestone, and something else pops up. And that is, I think, the fascinating part of when you see someone who, has achieved a level of success or just even an individual, just making it through life, having that grit and where that story comes from. And that's something we can all learn from. And so I'm excited to dive into those stories and those experiences.
Yeah, I think as a society, we spend so much time celebrating, interviewing, trying to understand the 99.99% of those, right, who have made it. Like, that's how we view them. But there's so many people doing incredible things. They're doing good things that no one ever sees. And the motivation, the grit behind that is driven by something. And we want to celebrate that.
Yeah.
So what I think I may like most is I think this is going to allow you and me to be more you and me.
Yeah.
Right. It's like it has to be a little bit more buttoned up. We're trying to interview the whole time. But here we're going to have some really interesting conversations, and we're thrilled that you're going to be first.
I'm honored to be asked.
Yeah. That's awesome. So where do you want to start, Erika? By the way, Erika's wearing headphones primarily so she can tell if I'm breathing into the mic too loud. So if you're wondering,
it's a check of life sort of situation.
I have a tendency to breathe heavy. I'm 400 pounds. So Erika's going to check me occasionally, but like, pull the mic back.
Yeah. Just here to make sure everything sounds good.
So where do you want to start with Chris?
Oh gosh. Well, Chris, tell us a little bit about, for our audience too, who might not know you as well as we do.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you're currently doing. So.
Yeah, I get this question. Then by the time I'm done, people are like, oh boy, there's a lot going on here. I am primarily at this point known for podcasting more than I am known for my podcasts, which is sort of a funny thing that's happened in the last couple of years, but has been intentional. I am the director of digital content at the IBJ, so I manage their podcasts and do a little video and social there. Prior to that, spent 11 years at Bob and Tom, and prior to that, managed the Libertarian Party of Indiana. And while there, I started a podcast called We Are Libertarians, which is now called the Chris Spangle Show. That's 13 years old, 13 and a half. Wow. And I've done that almost every week for that entire run. I do a podcast called the Patdown with Miss Pat and Dion Curry. And we've done that for 6 years. And that led to me being on BET, on network television, and Miss Pat Settles It. Overall, I manage well over 20 podcasts. I mean, not all of those are weekly, current, right? But between the day job, private clients like you, and my own personal podcasts, I manage a lot of content. And a lot of those clients are like, it's sort of funny being like the libertarian guy, like outside of the establishment, and then sort of my client work now, I'm like producing podcasts for well-established people. And I've had this wonderful view over 20 years, starting in talk radio back in 2004, where I started podcasting in 2007, of just the whole range of our society. I'm just super curious about all of it. I love everything that I get to do, because every day I get to learn, and for everything from environmental transformation with Sean Grady to leadership from you guys to philanthropy with Don and Greg over at Citizen 7, just, including all the work I do. So, yeah, I'd say if you're asking me what I do, I'm a podcaster, podcast editor. That's probably, I feel like a radio guy. Like, that's in my DNA, is the radio.
It's really interesting, though, because, like you said, 13 and a half years.
Yeah.
But you started in 2007. I mean, it wasn't even cool yet.
It was barely a thing. Everything I do now, I didn't exist when I graduated high school.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think it's interesting for our guests who have been following since season 1 to know why we chose you, and part of it is your expertise, your credibility. I was just in Wisconsin last week for a conference, and people ask, I'm like, oh yeah, we've got a podcast, and here's what it's about. And the response to we have a podcast is really interesting because so many people have a podcast now, and they set up their phone and they've got some sort of makeshift thing, and kudos to them, but that's not what we were aiming for.
Right.
And so you bring such a level of credibility. I remember asking, so I'm in Wisconsin, I said, have you ever listened to the show, Bob and Tom? And they were immediately, oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. I'm like, well, our producer was formerly the head of digital for Bob and Tom.
Yeah.
And it brings a level of credibility. And that's so much to your credit.
It's just the sheer numbers of what I've done since 2007, like because of Bob and Tom specifically. I mean, I've edited almost 30,000 episodes of podcasts. Like I'm responsible for millions and millions and millions of downloads between my podcast, Bob and Tom, Miss Pat's podcast. Like it's just like when I look at the numbers, like I almost don't talk about them because it does seem like this is kind of just made up.
Yeah.
But I have been very fortunate. I did something very smart at my first job at the radio station. I was around a bunch of radio people who were radio people. They were on-air people. They wanted to be on-air talent, and the way that the model was back then is that you were on-air talent and you didn't do anything else. Someone else wrote your scripts. Someone else edited your audio. Someone else sold your ads. I learned every single part over 4 years of that business. And then when I went to the Libertarian Party of Indiana for 4 years, I was setting up hundreds of candidate organizations, county organizations, doing all the marketing, all the fundraising. So my first 8 years, I learned how to do all the really granular things. And so by the time I started getting into circles where there were people of prominence or celebrities or whatever, I understood social media at a critical time when it was just like, maybe we should have a Facebook page. Oh, well, I've set up dozens of these. Maybe we should have a podcast. Well, I've had a podcast since 2007. I know video editing. So it's made me very marketable as a private client consultant and as a guy who needs to have a full-time job. I know video editing. I know marketing. I know sales. I know how to host a show. I've hosted 4,000 hours of podcasts.
Yeah.
I'm just, because I wanted to learn the granular things that nobody else felt that they should have to learn, it gave me a set of skills that I've been able to monetize. And through clients like you guys, I'm able to pay our rent. And then, it's given us a good living to the point that my wife can stay home. And that's because I learned on YouTube University how to do graphic design, how to build websites, how to do email marketing, those kind of things. Yeah. So I just was in a situation a couple weeks ago talking to students. I'm like, learn everything. Don't be too above anything. And there are times I'm in management at the IBJ, and I don't have people under me directly, but I work with a lot of people. There's times when you're in management, you kind of go, I shouldn't have to do this thing. Like that does creep in your mind, but then you're like, the second you start doing that, you lose those skills.
Yeah.
And skill building has been incredibly important to me to make sure that, and that's why I've gotten to do the things I've gotten to do, like work with Rupert from Survivor, work with Ms. Pat, work with Bob and Tom, work with at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, interviewing drivers. It's because I had skills.
Yeah.
And I just think that's super important, is to have that level of humility and say, I'm not above the work, but to get down, do the work and keep at it.
So that comes from somewhere, right? Erika's already declared we're going to talk about your childhood.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, when you think about the do the work, right? Be willing to learn, be open to learning, which includes a lot of failing.
Yeah.
Do you think that's relative to something you experienced as a kid? It's growing up. Let's go there. Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to be very introspective, sometimes to a fault, to a paralyzing amount. I am successful despite my courage sometimes. there's not a lot of failing because there hasn't been a lot of taking chances. But then there are times where like, okay, I know I can do like, it's only, I think, in the last 5 to 7 years that I have felt like I can push, I can do this. But I would say teens, 20s, early 30s, very insecure, very hesitant, keep myself in bubble wrap, stay comfortable. And I won't go into everything, but I would say like, deep insecurity like that. My weight is a part of that insecurity. People who I used to be 330 pounds, it's a way of keeping people at a distance, and I can't do that because I'm too heavy or I'm too this or that. My childhood in a lot of ways was great. Grew up, I would say, privileged, well-off middle-class family in Plainfield, Indiana, great education. And then, lots of extended family. It was a really good childhood. And won't get into everything with my parents because that plays into it, because they were doing the best that they could. But they got divorced when I was 15. And then there was a fight with my grandparents that we were very close to. Several key older family members passed away. So from like 1996 to 97, my whole nuclear and extended family disappeared. Like wow. It fractured, right? And I would say it wasn't until my oldest niece Lorelai was born 10 years later that kind of came back together.
Wow.
And I really struggled with my parents' divorce. I was 15, and I don't quite understand where like the codependence and some of that stuff comes from, but the desire to please people and to be helpful, to be significant, has always been hyper present in my life. And I'd say that is definitely a contributing factor. It's my worth is sometimes tied up into how much value I can add to the company, or how much value I can add to this relationship, or to get my foot in the door, I need to work as opposed to just being. So I really enjoyed your podcast because I think I've heard like, it was a motivator in helping me leave Bob and Tom. Like, okay, what do I want? Where do I need to be? What are my goals? Yeah. As opposed to just thinking about, I need to make sure I'm doing this to keep this job and keep it small and make sure I'm providing value. It's like, all right, my goals are a little like more community based than, and I have no disrespect towards Bob and Tom because it's literally my dream job since I was 8 years old, and I loved my 11 years there. But you just get to a point where you're like, this has run its course. And I stayed there probably a couple years longer than I should have because of that insecurity, because of that love of comfort, because of, and I would say the thing that I felt that I lost from my family, I've regained with my family. And so, yeah, where does it come from? It's going from middle class to kind of working class, and having to start as a teenager to make your own money, kind of provide for yourself in certain ways, not every way. But, then I also lived at home till 27. So it's like, there were a lot of like...
Not in the basement though, right?
Nothing was predictable. Yeah, I was in the basement. Yeah. That's where I started my blog in 2007. So I don't want to make it seem like I wasn't supported, because I was. It's just... I detached myself from my family and became like this lone wolf, and that wasn't healthy. And so then my 30s really was like, the 20s was like dealing with the consequences of that thinking, and then the 30s was getting back to a place of like, here's what a healthy person looks like. 4 years of therapy twice a week. Yeah, so I don't know how clear I am, but I would say, like, where does it come from? It really comes from insecurity. Like, it comes from needing to prove that I'm significant to people. Going into radio was not like, I was drawn to it because the attention is the drug. It's never drank. I've never done any kind of drug. My drug was attention. I wanted to be significant in the community. So I wanted to be in talk radio because that would give me status. That would give me meaning. That'd give me a follow. All these like very worldly, messed up.
Well, it feels like it goes back to just your sense of needing to prove that you have value. And so by getting recognition, then that thereby proves that you would have value,
More likes on a Facebook page, more followers on a podcast, more, right? And that social proof that you don't feel you're deserving of comes in like this artificial like value, right?
It makes me wonder, you talking about, you didn't use the word grit, but we've been talking about that. This is really this grit to learn, to add value, to add skills was kind of driven in the background by this insecurity. And it makes me wonder, how many times do we interact with or celebrate people in our workplaces? They're like, man, Janet, you always find a way to get it done, or you bring so much value that maybe we don't know the internal turmoil maybe that's going on behind that. And maybe you didn't know.
I didn't. I knew I was miserable. I was suicidal. I mean, I'm a Christian because I was going home to commit suicide one night.
Really?
Yeah. And so I was 18, still dealing with like kind of the emotional turmoil of it all. And I got dumped by my high school sweetheart. And I was just, I was an atheist. And then I got really into self-help to kind of like self-medicate and deal with just how do I regulate all these emotions, these big emotions. Then that led to Buddhism when I read Siddhartha in 11th grade honors English. And then the church that we would occasionally go to, the Methodist church, had a Christianity and Buddhism class. And so that kind of got me thinking about Christianity a little bit. And then 9/11 happened. And I turned 18 2 days before 9/11. And I turned in my selective service card on 9/10.
Oh, wow.
And so on 9/11, I was freaking out. And so I went to church on September 12th. And, parking lots in every church in Plainfield were full on that Wednesday. But fast forward to that November, I'm just reeling from the loss of like this 2-3 year relationship that had kind of brought some emotional stability, and driving home from school. It's like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I wouldn't say I was ideating.
Sure.
I was thinking about how to do it. I don't know that I didn't have like a gun to my head, so I don't want to make it seem too dramatic, but I walk in and my mom's watching Billy Graham. That's significant for two reasons. My mom should not have been home, and my mom would never watch Billy Graham. And so I don't know, just that I walked down and turned on the Billy Graham thing and watched it, and it was Wednesday, and I decided, let me give this a shot. Let me go to church. Sat in the sanctuary. It was dark. I was alone. Prayed the Billy Graham prayer, and I've had this supernatural experience that I never have talked about, but because it sounds crazy, but it happened. Thank God knows I'm a skeptical person, so I had this experience that has led me to never once doubt the fact that I'm saved, that Christ exists. Just a cold wind goes by me. Everything stands up. Getting goosebumps now. And then I went to a youth group that night, wept for an hour, and that youth group became my family. Like it became that emotional support system. And so, I forget the original question. I started to kind of ramble, but it's becoming a Christian has kind of led to that grit, because it has eventually Jesus has gotten me to this point where I'm not anxious. I have peace. I have wholeness. I have restoration. And now I'm at a point in my life where I've rebuilt and repented from so much that I'm able now to kind of go, how can I like move forward in a different way?
Yeah.
And that emotional grit of like, look, it sucks today, but it's going to be better tomorrow. It started that day. and has been an ongoing process for 20 years.
Yeah.
That's been difficult.
Yeah. No, I don't think that was off
Mm.
track at all.
I loved it.
Yeah. We've been wondering as we were talking through the summer, like, what is the impetus, right, for people that suddenly, like, you can see a shift
Mm-hmm.
in their life. They're headed in a direction. It seems relatively status quo. And then all of a sudden there's a shift.
Yeah.
And that seems to be part of yours.
Yeah, it seems like that gave you, it was like a new foundation was built, and that was your second chance at life.
Yeah.
From that point forward.
Yes. And I would say that I believed in Jesus in my head that day, but it wasn't until 2018 that I really accepted him fully and like decided that every part of my life was going to be like, no more dating, no more fooling around, no more cursing, no more doing the type of podcasting that makes me embarrassed to talk about the fact that I'm a Christian. Just, I went through divorce. I was married at 27. Nothing bad to say about my first wife. She was, we just weren't right for each other. Things fell apart for reasons I won't go into. But that process of like going through that second loss made me way more empathetic for what my parents went through.
Oh, I bet.
It took away a lot of that resentment.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, it the loss of that like attachment figure, just that constant hunt for the next attachment figure. I just made so many bad choices from 2014 to 2018. And, if you're like a person who is just like looking for wholeness in other people in a dating situation, especially, like, it's just going to make you miserable.
Right.
It makes you so miserable.
It's a lot of pressure to put on that other person too.
It is, which is why it worked for 2 months. And then they, like,
we never vocalize it, but they feel it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not like you go into it like, I need you to be my everything.
Yeah. And
So-
I was a great person that I was hanging out with at the time was like, you need to go to therapy. I was like, I'd never do that. Too proud for it. And I'm so thankful that they pushed me into that she pushed me into it, because Bev, like, retrained my brain. Like, this wonderful, godly counselor that, like, just would show up twice a week and go, is that true? I'd say, well, I'm thinking this way. And she goes, is that true?
Yeah.
And that just, like, still to this day, is that true about yourself? Like, I know you think that about yourself, but is that true?
Yeah.
It's just giving me the tools. And in 2018, I really decided, like, if you're going to be a Christian, you need to, like, start sanctifying yourself. You need to start living as a Christian. Like, actually read the Bible, actually go to church, actually treat people with love and respect, actually treat yourself like the woman who pushed me into therapy was like, don't talk about my best friend like that. Right? Like, you wouldn't talk about your best friend the way you talk about yourself. It's horrible. So I don't know. There's that second decision at 2018 to pursue a godly life, not to live, because I'm very far from that still, is the second phase of that, because that first phase gave me an idea that I was worth something, that I'm not all these horrible things that I think about myself. It led me to therapy. But that second phase is really when the blessings began, when I submitted, because, after that, shortly after that, I decided I was going to be completely celibate. And I'm going to submit in this area. I'm going to make a hard choice. And I met my current wife 2 weeks later.
Wow.
I'm not saying it's like it's not a lottery machine, it's not a formula.
Yeah.
But I just think back that when I submit this piece, then good things start happening in life, right? Like, and I don't want to be prosperity gospel about it, because you can submit and good things would happen. But
let's talk about formulas, right? I think, we're not setting out to start a podcast all about faith, but here we are.
Yeah.
And who knows, as we go through this and our guests and we start learning like what's driving it, we may find the common denominator is a submission to a life to Christ, right? So, but let's talk about this. I have been listening to a lot of Christian apologists. John Burke, one of those, and he says, Christ plus nothing, Jesus plus nothing equals heaven.
Yeah.
And that is true scripturally. Jesus plus nothing equals heaven. And then he adds to the other side of that plus works.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about that formula, if you're a math person, I love math, and there's rules to math, right? You have to work one side of the equation first. And this idea is that there's a reality that what equals heaven? Jesus plus nothing.
Yeah.
Right? But then what happens is, because, like you described, you felt valued.
Mm-hmm.
You felt like you mattered now, because there was the creator of all the things had identified in you, you're made for more.
Yeah.
Right. And then 4 years later going, well, I need to give back. I appreciate that relationship. You said best friend.
Yeah.
I appreciate that relationship so much that I need to give to it. And it's in that we begin to like add, behavior change. But it's not behavior change that gets us anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. It's a result of the love that you experience and that you want to give back. And I think you described that so beautifully, that that's part of the journey of being a believer.
Yeah.
Is that he loves you regardless of what you do.
Yep.
Or will do. And it's in that you start to realize, I want to contribute to this relationship. And you do that by adjusting your life to be in alignment with some of the things that you read in scripture.
Yeah. I haven't started podcasting this yet, but over on the Chris Spangle Show, we're going to talk a little bit.
Is this a hot take?
It's not a hot take.
Man, I thought we were breaking news, Erika.
I know.
No, not, but
First.
it's something called the ordered life, right? Because what I'm doing on my Libertarian podcast, I think when everything feels crazy, you've got to go back to principles. So what are the foundations of a healthy society, and what is the formation of a healthy person? And that's what I'm really focusing on in the Chris Spangle Show. And I've thought a lot the last couple of years, like, what does it mean to live an ordered life, right? And I go back to, there's a guy named Abraham Kuyper, who is this amazing Christian in the late 1800s in Holland. And he's this Dutch reformer, Presbyterian minister, starts a college, professor, starts a newspaper, journalist, runs for office, becomes prime minister, like insanely productive. And he has this theory called sphere sovereignty, that the state often is what we think of in terms of what controls society, right? We think government is what is the arbiter of truth, or how do we help the homeless? Let's look to the state, the government. And he talks about the fact that it's one of these spheres. Family is a sphere. Journalism is a sphere. Education is a sphere. Government is a sphere. Nonprofits. Like, if you really think about society, it's all of these different spheres bumping into each other that make up a whole society. And the circle around those spheres is the gospel. It is Christ, who is the king of all of those spheres. And because he is king, not one of those spheres can be king. Sure. Right? So the government especially can't be king. And I think that speaks so much into our society today. One of Kuyper's thought partners in a certain way was Pope Leo XIII, who the two of them talked a lot about the social question and how can the gospel help individuals and societies reform, become redemptive. And it's one of the reasons Pope Leo, the Chicago Pope, our new Pope, chose that name. And so thinking about that, I've thought, like, how does an individual create a formula for themselves to take these spheres that we have and pay attention to them?
Okay.
And so, you've got your personal sphere, which is your spiritual health, your physical health. I'm looking at this so I don't forget anything.
Yeah,
your mental and emotional health, rest and recreation, personal growth, right? You need to exercise. Terrible at it. I've got to pay attention to that. My emotional and mental health is good. Mm-hmm. My spiritual health is good. I put time into Bible study, going to church. Rest and recreation, not great at that. Love to work. I love what I do.
Right.
So I have to be intentional about Sundays, disconnecting, having that rest. And then personal growth, like, are you reading? Are you attending lectures? Are you reading the newspaper? Are you stretching your mind? You know, that second sphere is your family foundation. Like, your first and foremost, your family health. How are things with your wife, your kids, your husband, and then that relational, like, do you have friends in your life that can tell you, pull it back, buddy? Or in my case, it's not that. It's, you are good enough. You need to pursue this. You need to push.
Yeah.
Right. So often we hear, I need friends to hold me back. I'm like, I'm not that guy. I saw this TikToker who said that she has like a forcing party, and her friends get together and they bring their list of things that they need the friends to force the others to do. And I loved that idea. And that's part of this idea of that sphere. The second is vocational. And I think this is the one that so often this sphere looms so big in our lives.
Agreed.
And it becomes too big. It's like the state and the public spheres. In the private spheres, we are too worried about our career health and our financial health. And to the point that we, and this for me was a big part of it, as I'm thinking about this idea the last couple of years. I have these amazing opportunities. Like, I'm on a TV set on a network TV with extras in the audience coming up to me going, "Who's your agent? What's your next project?" And I'm sitting here going, should I have an agent and a next project? I don't. I could have done stand-up. I could have tried to learn that skill and had the opportunity to go and do that the last 6 years because of Bob and Tom, because of Miss Pat and their generosity. But that would mean that I'd have to leave Wednesday nights to go to do open mics, and I'd have to be gone Friday through Sunday. And I'd have to work through the week, and I'd never see my family. That career sphere would be too looming over the others. And then the final is, once you've got those things in order, right, you have to have your physical first. You have to have that family foundation next. Then you have to have your vocational foundation, and then you can move into community engagement. And I tried to go right to community, neglected all the other spheres. And but I think you have to put it into perspective and order things. And I have a little checklist that I have that has all these things on them to, like, all right, where are we too heavy? Where are we too light? I'm forcing myself to go to Orange Theory today. Went 2 days ago. It was awful because I haven't barely been in a year.
Right.
But I'm out of breath, like, carrying my kid in from the car.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's out of whack. It's got to be even. I should be working at that 4 o'clock hour. Well, just shift that an hour earlier in your day or an hour later, but you've got to go at 4 o'clock, and you've got to go to Orange Theory because they're going to force you to work out. If you go to the Y, you're not going to do it, right? So I have that little checklist of this like orderly thing that I go through my head, and I'm not saying like I'm an expert in any of these. I'm failing at a lot of these, but I need that ordered list to get my life to a point where I can perform across the board for my clients, for my work, for my family, for myself.
Yeah.
And I love that. And it seems like, do you feel like all of that is working together to help you get closer to, and not perfect, not achieving, but really the vision that you have for your life?
Yeah.
Because you're choosing, ultimately at the end of the day, you're choosing to say, I want to spend time with my family.
Yeah.
I kind of like them,
I love going home at 5 o'clock. I get home at 5 and there's a little parade for me, and like people are cheering. Like, what could be better?
Nothing. So yeah, you're choosing to say, I want that, and I'm going to choose that over this other thing that I could be doing, because this stand up or, taking all that time to travel and things like that away from my family doesn't fit with that vision that I want for my life.
Yeah. I mean, at 8 years old, I wanted to be a famous comedian or a talk radio show host. I mean, that was my goal.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember War of the Worlds, October 31st, listening to the Orson Welles play on on the WFYI station here. And I was 8, so I don't know what year it was, but I'm listening to it terrified. And it wasn't as fleshed out as this, but I was like, if this medium can make me feel this way, and this is 75 years old, how powerful is this? Like, that kind of like disconnection that I had with my family, Bob and Tom became like my friends, right? And so I listened to Rush Limbaugh with my grandma. Like, radio was just such a huge part of my life that I wanted to do that, and I still do. And then started We're Libertarians. And out of that podcast, out of the 6 million downloads that we've had 100 co-hosts. We've had 25 shows. We've had a magazine. It was this amazing project that 4 marriages were produced out of that friendship circle. And
wow.
And it's just, talk radio became hugely important for those reasons. But as I was kind of pushing into that, and things were building, like We're Libertarians was up to like 12,000 an episode. We're like 400 right now. Because when I met Reagan in 2019, and then we got a house, like things changed. Like I can't have my dining room be a podcast studio anymore.
Right.
I can't have my friends come over to podcast anymore. I can't put 20 hours a week into creating the content like I did, because now I have responsibilities that are supporting an entire family, not just me. It is the emotional, mental, physical well-being of 3 kids. It is like my son is 2 and he just he just wants to hang out. He loves to play with me.
Yeah.
We do blocks. Like I have that responsibility.
Yeah.
That Thursday night tonight, that would have been podcast night, right? So so I have had to figure out how to continue to do my passion.
Yeah.
But the other part of it is the pandemic really changed things. I realized that I didn't want to do talk radio because the incentives of doing content, political content, especially in this day and age, is so self-aggrandizing, so dishonest, so sowing of discord that I, as a Christian, cannot do it. And if I want to achieve a certain height, I have to act in a way that I find counter to my values. And so I have to accept that I'm not at 12,000 downloads, I'm at 400 now.
Yeah.
And so you have to, as you examine your values through this process of going, look, here's the spheres, where am I good and where am I bad? You have to like just accept that certain parts of these things are going to be dialed back in this period of your life. Then certain parts are going to be dialed up. Right? Like I only get 5 years with my little kids.
Yeah.
Right.
My oldest is now in 1st grade. Like we don't have the same relationship we had when she was 3. We have that bond because of that. But yeah, you have to pick and choose. You can't do it all, and you have to find the balance and make trade-offs. Like I'm in a point in my life where I'm looking around going, okay, that deepest desire of my heart and my selfish desires and my childhood dreams, I got to live out a lot of those until like 40. Like I'm very blessed that I got taken to the mountaintop and got to peek over and see, here's what success looks like if you pursue this path career-wise.
Yeah.
Here's what success looks like over here in TV. Here's the incentive structure that it takes to get ahead in these places.
Right.
And here's the trade-offs. And I didn't want to make those. And so, other people make different choices, and that's fine. And some people can. Like I'm just interested in a lot. So I do a lot. I do a lot of different things.
Well, I think in part that's part of the value of this conversation is nobody's indicting the other, right? If that's where you want to go and that's the choices a person wants to make and that's fulfilling for where what they're choosing is important, then there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But it's the recognition of, the internal, you said introspection earlier, like
myself, I can't do the things that some of these other people can do. Like, and they have,
because of values,
different
because
things,
of convictions, because of an absence of fulfillment,
capacities,
right?
Emotional fragility, or not, or what the emotional resilience, like.
Yeah.
Some people are fine with millions of people. I'm fine with hundreds of people having the wrong opinion of me. I'm not going to be fine with millions. I just can't do that, right?
Sure.
And other people have different capacities and different skill sets and gifts. So, but yeah, it's an awareness that like a lot of it is just I'm a selfish person. I have to like keep those things in check because I'm a workaholic. I love to work. Again, I have to check that finding meaning at work is more important than finding meaning at home, finding meaning in Christ. Like, but no shade on other people who chose
not.
different things and are different. Like, I'm in a phase of life at 40 where I've got little kids. People who can push into their career at 40 probably had kids at a more reasonable age and are in a different place. So I think, but it's just that recognition that you have to make trade-offs and you have to make sacrifices and you have to put yourself second in a lot of ways.
One of the things I really appreciate about what you've been sharing, Chris, is that you didn't put the obligation to make your life balanced and whole on your employer.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think a lot of times American culture, I think there's been a shift in the workplace that started with the right intention and really positive, right? Our workplace needs to be more healthy. We spent 2 seasons talking about healthy human experience. Yet we're getting into season 3 and saying there's an ownership. There's a personal ownership in your human experience as well, that I can't expect my employer to take on the fulfillment I need from family, from faith, from these serving and other things, because at some point I have to make different choices.
Yeah.
And that's what you did. You said, something's out of balance for me.
Yeah.
What does that look like? And you made different choices.
Yeah. I mean, they had, like, at a certain period in my life, it worked. And then at a certain period, it didn't. Like, and it was 90% great.
Right.
Right. Like, maybe 80, depending on the day. But I felt like if I stayed in this place for too long, I've been there 11 years, most people job hop. I had to go out and try something different. I had gone through a period where, like, my meaning was wrapped up in being the head of the Libertarian Party because I had nothing else going on in my life. And when I left that job, guess what? I faced a serious crisis. It's a very small contributor to why I got divorced, but that depression that came with not having that title anymore taught me you can never do this again.
Yeah.
And so I also approach work like I think people go all in, and I think you as a Christian are called to give your employer 100% of your effort. But I also think you need to be mindful that they don't own you, that this is a voluntary relationship. And I didn't always have that mindset. And so I didn't say yes to things that I wanted to say yes to because I felt like, what if work gets mad about this?
Yeah.
And what I learned in saying, hey, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? They didn't care. And so, like, I was very blessed and fortunate to have a boss in John Kessler and Tom Griswold who allowed me to go do podcasting, who allowed me to go on a TV show.
Yeah.
That probably didn't always benefit their bottom line or the efficiency of my department, but they knew we need to let our employees have their own thing and their own growth in their own way. So yeah, I think it's just really important to keep that, like, balanced mindset that work is a sphere. It is not your meaning. These people are your friends, but when you leave, you may not talk. Like, I got lunch with my buddy from the radio station that I worked at 20 years ago. We hadn't seen each other in 15 years, right?
Wow.
And I loved catching up with him, but things are, I don't know. When you're younger, you just think like it's all about this. You're so in, and you don't have that perspective of balance. And I certainly didn't.
Yeah.
I like what you mentioned earlier about, I mean, you've evolved, through, life when you were younger, 18, in your 20s to now. Where do you think Chris Spangle is headed?
That's a good question.
The next 10,
I have no
20 years?
idea. Like, everything's about the kids and my wife.
Yeah.
Everything's about the kids, and then my wife and I try to fit. It's like we're in that stage. We got a 7-week-old, a 2-year-old, and a 6-year-old. Having been like a libertarian and being known for that, I see things a little differently now. I think about the common good as much as I do the individual, right? So, don't know what a libertarian is. It is the idea that you do not use force for social or political goals. right? So government ultimately is force. Don't pay your taxes. Don't show up for your court date. What happens?
Yeah.
You don't have choice. It's not voluntary, right?
Sure.
Like going to work is you are embedding yourself in a voluntary authoritarian system. Your boss can tell you to do whatever they want you to do, and if you don't like it, you can leave. You don't have that with government, right? Which is why it has to be checked. I think now about like what are the values that kind of made America great? What are the values that didn't make America great? And how do we kind of take those and implement them into our communities? And so, coming from a libertarian background that was very online, I started producing this podcast with Robert Vane called Leaders and Legends. And now all of a sudden I am producing a podcast that interviews the people who spearheaded the projects I disagreed with, put press releases out about, and now I'm faced with hearing their story when I didn't have to listen to that when I was just playing to the crowd online.
Interesting.
And so it has given me the last 6 years a whole different perspective on what makes a healthy community and how that works. The elites aren't as bad as you think that they are, and in some ways their ideas are misplaced and aren't listening enough to people who are in poverty, and so I'm enjoying this phase of my life where I'm providing services for people who are talking to communities in a really important way, in a small way. But I see that as like the future of media.
Yeah.
So I think like everybody should have a podcast. So the answer to your question's coming, but the reason the studio exists is that I think that this is the ultimate way to solve our loneliness crisis, because people sort themselves by interest now. I'm interested in knitting. I'm interested in leadership, in education. I'm interested in libertarian politics. So let's get together in person and build friendships around discussing the thing we're nerdy about. So we built the studio so you could do that in person. And I charge a fraction of what other places charge. So it's affordable for people to do that. Brandon came back in the studio last night for the first time after a month off, and he's like, man, this is like therapy.
Yeah.
Because it's got the relationships that are in that are meaningful, right? Yeah. And so how can I help people build those little communities for themselves? How can I help use my skill set to give voice to people in the community that both are making decisions, but also who have no voice? How can we foster conversation around the values that we care about so we preserve those things? I won't get political. I do think we're in for a rough transitional period, and it is not because of a political party. It is sort of because of the political parties, but it is also because of the technological changes that we are about to live through are enormous. And what happens when 80% of Twitter is bots? It's something called the dead internet theory, where all of a sudden the internet is nothing you can trust. It's not usable. It's AI slop. Well, now we go back to local, in person interactions. And I think we're going to, in the next 20 to 30 years, have people who are wildly disconnected from reality and from real relationships, and people who are all about that, and that's the only thing that they do. And that we talk about wealth inequality, like relational inequality, I think is going to become massive in the next 20, 30 years. And how can I be helpful in Indianapolis in helping build communities that bring people together and foster the same kind of relationships that I've had through We Are Libertarians? Like, I want what I've had for other people.
Sure.
And it's so much easier than people think. So how that manifests itself and where it goes, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm appreciative that God put me in a place like the IBJ where I'm able to network, put me in relationship with the guys in Citizen 7, with all of the people that I work with on the podcasting side. Like, I just kind of woke up one day and everybody around me is breathing that same air, when 2 years ago I was going, man, I wonder if there's anybody else that thinks like that.
Right.
And then now here I am with people who really deeply care about where the city's going, what's happening in the city, how to fix it. So I think more about community engagement than I do vocation, because work is just like, vocation was everything, title was everything until about 5 years ago, even 2 years ago. Now it's, hey, I've got this set of skills and I know people, and like, how can I just be around and be helpful and just be an approachable voice for people out, like, in the worlds that I've, like the online worlds that I've built, and say, hey, come on in. It's not as bad in the city as you think. It is really fun to like have a podcast. It is great to build friendships. It is cool to be a Christian. Like, as opposed to like, what does this certain group of people like? How can I design my internet presence to cater to that audience, which is gross to me.
Yeah, right. Well, I think there's definitely a shift, because there is a lot of people now realizing how much relationships have been void, right, in their lives, absent in their lives, and a shift going back to that. And I couldn't be more excited. I think part of just engaging these conversations with individuals and digging down is to go, wow, there's a lot of really intentional work that's happening first in your mind and then out through your life that is making a difference in the community, and it's making a difference in the community for someone. Yeah. And it's like this introduction of social media and access to information, and we see very public lives, has almost deceived us that if I can't make a difference for everyone, I'm not making a difference at all. And that's just not true. I think so much of us are realizing that the interpersonal relationship that I have first, right, with myself. And then my relationships externally with others, that's going to be critically important for where we're going.
It's huge.
And community can't be understated. So anything that's driving community, and we have the opportunity, we've taken advantage of what you do, your expertise. And we've been able to build this odd little niche community, even with ourselves and our audience, that at least, I don't know, they care about us. Our moms, I think, are still watching. But they care about the topic, and believe that what we're trying to drive is good things. And so it's good to just to be able to sit and engage a conversation with someone who, for us, is always behind the camera.
Right.
To be able to come out in front of it and say, no, you're doing some really cool things too. And you were leading first. I love your description. You're leading first yourself, right? Before your marriage, your healthy marriage now, and your family, you made a choice to be a better Chris. And how does that look? And what does that look like? And then you add to that with your family. And then now it's pouring over into your vocation, the way that you show up in the world, right, out into the community. I think we can all learn from that is, man, let's not overcomplicate it. Because, we said in season 1 and 2, and now in 3, that you cannot give that which you first don't possess. You can't pour from an empty cup.
And it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's just how it is, at least in my life. And so people get frustrated and go, well, I failed. I ate the ultra processed foods. I'm trying to cut out sugar. Man, those kids' fruit snacks looked great. So I had 2 of them and I should have had none of them. And that's just like, it's 1 step back, but today we're going to do better. Like, and the grit that it took to get through a divorce of every minute is pain. And then every hour was pain. And then every day was pain. And then all of a sudden, I hadn't thought about that in a while. But like when you're in the middle of it, and I just think about like me as a teenager, me after my divorce, and like my struggle with suicide. And I see these people who are in Canada or England, like they're 28 and they're euthanizing themselves because they're depressed. And I'm just like,
right.
What a tragedy that they didn't get to where I'm at, where they can look back and see this beautiful story of like waking up every day, failing one day, moving ahead the next 2 days, and just eventually brick by brick. This guy, Jack Carr, he started something called iQuest. It's like the first big internet service provider here in town. And he told me, you build a business a brick at a time. You don't like wake up and have a great company one day. You are in the midst of laying bricks, and it's like one brick here, and then eventually you step back after 20 years and you look at the brick wall and you go, oh, that's a nice brick wall. But you didn't feel that pride in the middle of it. And I have always thought that was such a good explanation for like how I felt about my own personal development.
Yeah.
And I agree for the people who don't, they take an action that is permanent and devastating to their family. And so, if you're in the middle of it, I'm living proof that things do get better. And eventually, like, I just can't believe that, like, I've gotten to do what I've gotten to do. I have the family that I have the friends that I have, like, and it's just 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and trying to achieve what you're talking about. You can't have what you don't first possess.
Right. Well, we're glad you're still here.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
You're right. It's tragic when people make permanent choices, but so many times people also don't take the time. And maybe this is the encouragement for you today: is put the brick down and step back and look at the wall.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get so focused on the brick in hand that we forget to step back and look at what is actually being constructed by the choices we're making, the intentionality that we use. And maybe we focus so much on achievement, we focus so much on success that we forget to focus on just health, wellness, these things, and the standard in which we want, and the successful days stacked upon each other end up in a life of meaning. And that's ultimately what you're describing.
Yeah, and there's going to be those setbacks, like with the gummy bears. You eat 2 of them, but you didn't eat the whole box. Like, that's great. That's progress. And you could stop at 2. So what? Move on the next day.
Why is it gummy bears?
Was it?
It was the
fruit snacks.
Yeah, man. I don't like Aldi at all.
Are you craving gummy bears?
But those Aldi fruit snacks are so good.
Oh yeah.
And so I think about that a lot. Like, my little 2-year-old mimics everything we do. Like, we were in Walmart or Menards or something, and like, I lean down to check the price, and I make this scowl to see, because I'm trying to see it with my old eyes, and he does the exact same thing.
Right.
And the point of a family is to transmit values to the next generation. And when you have kids, it's like, you better know what your values are. And it's hit home to me like, hey, I wanted those gummies last night, and so he wants them. And do I want him having the same struggle with food that I have? Like, what am I teaching him? Do I want him struggling, living paycheck to paycheck? Do I want him struggling with insecurity? Like, I had great parents and a good childhood and got set up for success in so many other ways. But I look at it and go, okay, how can I take this further for my kids? How can we make this generational?
Yeah.
When you look at like these great pastors that you see that like really move people, like they grew up in households of faith. Like, they had shortcuts, they had secondhand language, I didn't have that benefit, right? My mom did take us to church. She did want us to have some exposure. But it's not like the way my wife grew up, where she's like so much deeper in knowledge in certain ways than I am.
Yeah.
Because she had 20 more years than I did. And so, yeah, it's I think for me, it's just recognizing like other people are watching. Don't try to please them and make them happy, but like, what kind of values are you living at? How are you treating them? I don't know. It's a totally different mind shift that I haven't articulated yet, but that's the best way to put it, is like my 2-year-old's watching.
Yeah,
my
being
6-year-old's watching.
That positive role model, being an example of what all of that stands for, and being a walking, talking example of your values and your principles.
Yeah. When they tune into my podcast, like 10 years from now, do I want them to be embarrassed by me, or do I want them to look back and go, wow, he's really trying to lift people up, or he was trying to be edified? Like, I don't know. It's having a family, I really subscribe like to the idea that men need families, men need marriage, because I don't know. I think it made me a lot better as a man in person. I never like to speak for everybody, and not everything's universal, but I think in general, a part of the problem with the crisis with men right now is that we are getting married later, that they aren't having that responsibility of providing, of
That's interesting.
parenting. I was in my 20s chasing after my own personal desires, and I love St. Augustine, not just the city. It's my favorite place in the world, but like the saint in the book Confessions, like chasing after worldly pleasures and worldly fame, and then like finding what matters. I mean, my story feels, I see a lot of like hope in his story. But young men, just think that's like a part of it. It's like, you don't have to, I wasn't forced to think about my values and principles until somebody was watching. And man, do I want them going through the same struggles I went through.
Yeah.
And in some of those ways, the struggles that my parents and grandparents and probably great grandparents went through, like let's break some cycles and set them up for the kind of life. But first, I had to get around people like the guys in Citizen 7, like Don and Greg Enos, Don Palmer, and the Big Hearted Indie podcast I do. And I had to like learn from the guys at church and the guys in Citizen 7, like, here's what it means to do charity work, or here's what it means to be like on a board, or here's like, it's just a totally foreign world that I've been in, and I want my kids to like, I want to set the table for them. I'm not going to see some of these promised lands, but what can I leave them?
It's interesting
to take forward
that you've been talking about this, because I've been processing a lot. I have incredible parents, still married today, married since 1977.
Nice.
Right. So here we are.
Which doesn't seem like that long ago, but it's like a super long time now.
48 years. They're incredible people. My dad was the first leader I aspired to model. My mom is an incredible, serving heart. She's so gifted. Right. So that's a part of my story. And then you have the trauma in my life, which isn't about, we're not going to talk about that necessarily, but you have these moments, and I had a lot of time in counseling as well, and therapy, where I had to process choices and decisions that my parents made, right? And then I had to make decisions to say, okay, I can do better than that.
Yeah.
But my parents are incredible. Like I had a great childhood in that regard, and then a really hell of a childhood in some other ways.
Yeah.
But I think about this because I think about all the intention I've put in, starting there and thinking, my kids are watching, right? When they do something wrong, when they do something ignorant, like, how do I respond?
Yeah.
What choices do I make? How do I approach conversations to them? Am I going to be more open about money with them than my parents were with me? Right? All these things. And I've done that. And I do believe that I have improved on that.
Yeah.
And then there's this process in the back of my head to say, but the real value in parenting is that they do better than me.
Yeah.
And so, which means they're going to have to unpack some of the pieces I missed.
Yep.
Some of the things I didn't set strong examples on and improve on it.
Yep.
And, you wonder, I think maybe part of the encouragement in this conversation to those listening is you're not going to get it all right.
Right.
It's showing up every day with the intentionality and the effort that you have. And that's going to be what you can give. Yeah. Because your kids are going to take it to a next step. But perfection isn't the goal, and that's not what you're saying.
No.
But it does change when you realize little eyes.
Yeah.
Right. They're watching, and they begin to imitate you. And sometimes you watch that and you go, oh no, that was from me.
I messed that up.
That was from me.
I messed that up. No,
right.
I think, it's especially with your first kids, like, I don't know how to be a parent. I don't know how to discipline this kid. I don't know how to do these things. Right. Like, I don't know how, like, and, our oldest yelled at my middle child the other day. and it sounded exactly like me.
Yeah.
I was like heartbroken.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to wrangle that and get that under control, but she still saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's still like, and he did the same thing to the 7-week-old, was crying his 2 hours, and he was so patient, but finally he was just like, shh, enough. It's just so me. It was just like he snapped. I'm like, the thing that my wife doesn't like me doing, he's doing. I'm like, this is a bummer.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, but then there are things like, my dad's awesome. Love my dad. I think he'd admit, like, he put a lot into his business, built a successful business, and he wasn't home in the evenings.
Sure.
So I intentionally have chosen jobs where I'm home in the evening and I'm there every evening, right? Because, and maybe they'll complain about that. I don't know, but you know, I just know when I was a kid, I would have liked him to be home in the evening after school more.
Yeah.
And so it's not like he made a bad choice. It's not like he did anything wrong. It's just, it's something that I remember thinking, when I'm a dad, I'm going to do this a different way.
Yeah.
And see what we get. So,
and I think the key word is different.
Yes. Everything's so judgmental.
Right. There are some egregious actions by parents that are just flat wrong.
Right.
They shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But I think the majority of what we experience and how we want to change and be different is just a matter of doing different than what we experienced.
Right.
Because you think about what you thought, what you felt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great example. You're not saying your dad was an absent father.
No, he was
saying,
not.
I wish he was home more in the evenings.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know, that we kind of got on an interesting thread there towards the end here, but I enjoy it. I appreciate you sharing what you shared. I think there's a lot of value. We were talking from the podcast perspective, that there's so much push in the shorts.
Yeah.
These little short snippets, right? Our attention span is garbage now.
Yeah.
And the comment as our discussion was, well, you can't have shorts without a long.
Yeah, exactly. So right. Yeah.
There's a whole section of content here that is just going to come right out in that really quick.
Yeah, and I'm really mad you're making me edit myself, which I'm not happy about. I don't like looking at me. I don't like listening to me.
Most of it anyway.
Well, on the shorts, yes, but I have to actually switch camera angles to me, and
Well, it's been a great conversation. Erika said it, and Erika had to.
We started talking about man stuff, and she had to leave.
Yeah, she was like, I'm
enough.
out. Yeah. But Erika had to leave. Erika missed the great end of a great conversation. She'll catch it like our viewers catch it. And I really appreciate you taking the time. And you've been a fan. You've been a rooting for us.
For sure.
And one of the things that I'm most appreciative of is we extended a level of trust to your experience.
Yeah.
And it has been showing up. I know others who have started podcasts about similar timeline who are nowhere near where we are right now. And if you'd have told me when we started that before the end of the first year, we would have reached nearly 70,000 people, I don't know that I would have been able to grab that.
Yeah.
But your expertise has allowed us to do that. And, we're not making money. We're not turning it over, but we are committed to having conversations for a community out there who cares about
the point of content is community, and you are taking the message of what you're talking about, the human experience, and forming people.
Mm-hmm.
It's the idea of content as catechization. We all get in bed and sit there for 2 hours and catechize ourselves with the world's messages, right? And you got to train that algorithm, right? You got to hide the things, you got to hide the big booties and the religious messages, right? And then eventually after a month, you're going to get lots of John Calvin and not much of the stuff you shouldn't be seeing. We need leading Adam in that feed, in that catechization of where people are at and touching people and making the case for a more empathetic workplace, making the case that wokeness and DEI is different than what you may see on Twitter. It's actually about respect. It's actually about wholeness for an entire group of people. That students like the one you had on last season that I loved, there's value in his life, and he's just not just I don't know. It's your podcast gives dignity back to people, and that's one reason that I love it.
Appreciate that.
It is I'm a right-leaning guy, and we talk a lot about liberty, but man, we're missing the mark on that dignity piece.
Yeah.
And I think a guy in Carhartt sitting here talking about the dignity of individuals is so important. And
I got to tell you this, Chris. I told you I was at a conference last week. I was in Wisconsin the whole week, and I had more than one person say this to me. And one of them was about my age, African-American woman. She's just an incredible person. And we had this great conversation about connection, and it was recorded. So they recorded this conversation, and then we stepped away, and she goes, I swear to you, her exact comment, she goes, "You are a large man and a very intimidating figure, but somehow you use that to connect with people."
Yeah.
And it makes me laugh because I had been told that more than once that week alone.
Really?
And another person said, "Man, you've got a badass beard and it works for you." Right. And I think sometimes I can walk into a room.
Yeah.
Right. And I can be labeled subconsciously toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Right. But I am genuinely a person that wants to get down and really hear and know people. And I think we're too snap judgment on that.
100%.
We see the tattoos, the colored hair, the earrings. Like, why are we still talking about this?
Right.
Right. Those are real people with real feelings, with real hopes and dreams. And just like you, but probably in a little bit of different way, they've stepped off the path in which they really want to be on.
Yeah.
But how's that any different than me being slave to work? Right? It's all off the path.
Yeah.
To a degree.
I mean, look, I wear this everywhere. I wear my tennis shoes and I wear my shirt untucked, and I probably should dress up a little bit, but like, this is kind of who I am. And I also think like making everybody dress up all the time and look a certain way and having that homogeny and it's a barrier to entry for a lot of people, especially lower class people. Jobs don't pay what they paid 30 years ago. Right. They pay what they pay 30 years ago. The dollar just isn't worth as much as it was 30 years ago. And so, like, if you're working in a professional place, like some of these younger folks, they can't afford to go to Macy's and buy a bunch of blazers. And like, I think in what you do where you're trying to connect to people, it's just so important to be authentic. Like, instead of trying to pretend to be something you're not, you've got to be who you are. So you can walk in and tell me the young man's name that was on the podcast. Oh boy. Yeah, we'll have to look it up. I apologize that I don't remember his name, but it's like he's going to connect with you so much better than if you're wearing an Oxford shirt and penny loafers and it's just
shame on me for not being able to remember his name because he was incredible. He had such an incredible smile.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But you're right. There's a fine line between I am authentic. I am authentically me. And then where it crosses when we go, well, that's just me.
Yeah.
No, that's immature. Right. I have to also know the audience that I'm showing up to speak to.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's not just a matter of dress how you want, be who you want at everyone else's expense, but it is also don't just become something because that's what society told you you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful center there that is called authenticity.
Yeah.
And authenticity does not disregard the experience of other people.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
For sure.
Right. So I can't be authentically me and damage your experience. That's unhealthy as a society.
Right.
But I should be authentically me in consideration of your authenticity as well.
Yeah.
So, man, sucks Erika had to take off, but thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for the conversation. I really enjoyed it. I love diving in, just getting to know a little bit more about people. So this was good. And thanks for showing us how to set stuff up.
Make sure you put it all back right. There's a fine.
We'll do our best. We'll see next week. It'll look a lot different, but thanks for joining us at the start of season 3. We've got guests coming for the next several weeks, and we're going to get into some stories that are just going to be heartbreaking. Some of them will be inspiring. Some will be both. And thanks to Chris Spangle for being our first guest.
Happy to do it.